The sniper comes on to give us the Kentucky Derby lowdown. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you not baseball. We're doing horse racing today. It's the third one off here of our new project where we're doing some special events. We started out with the Masters. That was a rousing success. We followed it up with the NFL draft. That was just as good. And now we are moving into the Kentucky Derby. So I have the sniper, Barry Spears, at Urban Handicapper. That's URBN Handicapper on Twitter. And he's one of the hosts of the Going in Circles podcast, the Monday night edition. And he is a fine handicapper. If you follow horse racing, you might have seen him pop up here and there on TVG as well. And if you keep looking around, you'll probably see him in more places, and especially doing his Kentucky Derby preview stuff. But even after that, you'll see Barry around. He's got his MLB cap on in reverse.
That's right.
So we can't see which team he's representing.
Oh, wait, I'll show it to you.
Let's see. Okay, we're gonna get it. And it is the old school Chicago White Sox.
Here we go.
Yeah,
I'll turn it around for the rest of the show.
Okay, so he's repping the old school.
Old
Sox.
school, yeah. I like the throwback hats. I got tons of them. I mean, I probably have over 100 hats, and a lot of them are throwbacks. And I have a lot of Tampa Bay Rays hats. Just, throw that out there. And they haven't been around all that long, but they definitely have a large selection of hats.
I know the Rays and the Devil Rays hats are by era. It's like you got like the Greg Vaughn era hat, you have the Jose Canseco era hat,
Wade Boggs,
Wade Boggs hat, 3000 hit hat, right? Like you got a whole bunch of them. They had to make new hats for every occasion back then.
They definitely did. I have a green one, a dark green one. I mean, I have so many. I have a neon one that that isn't out that much in circulation, but I like my hats. I like especially baseball hats. I grew up playing baseball. It's always been a sport close to my heart for sure.
Okay, we'll get into that in a little bit, but first we want to tell you to follow the podcast everywhere you download podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. If you like to watch it, check it out on YouTube. And if you're a Facebook person, we're on Facebook. Go join the group there, facebook.com/group/Diamond Diehards. We also have a Facebook page, which sometimes is confusing. That's like the business page, facebook.com/Diamond Diehards. But find us everywhere. And if you want to do a little business with us, we'll talk a little bit about that later, too. We're on LinkedIn as well. So everywhere on social media, at Diamond Diehards, you can find us, but especially Twitter. I'm pretty active over there, and the Facebook group. You can find Barry at, I swear, as I said before, at Urban Handicapper, URBN Handicapper on Twitter. He's a great follow on Twitter, but you better be on your toes. Better be on your toes. You don't know what Barry's going to hit you with. He could hit you with a stealth winner in the fourth at Gulfstream, or like who's the greatest outfielder you've ever seen on any given day or time.
Jim Rice, that's my man. So
well,
that's my dad. My dad's friend. I grew up in Boston, and my dad at the time worked at Converse, the shoe company. They had a contract with Jim Rice, and the rest is history. We're good friends. So Jim Rice is my favorite. Dewey Evans is probably my second favorite.
Wow, my latest tweet was just about Dwight Evans. I
Really?
put him in there. Yeah, somebody made a tweet. I forget who it was. It was like, who are the three best outfielders ever? So, of course, they want you to put, like, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Babe
Right,
Ruth.
the obvious, right?
Right, but what I do is I just say, like, I say outfielder, so I'm like, I'm just going to put three defensive guys out there. So I put Devon White, Steve Finley, and Dwight Evans.
See?
So I went with all defensive guys. And in Stratomatic terms, which I know you're a Stratomatic player,
definitely
we have a whole like underbody of Stratomatic people, and we do special Stratomatic shows here. All those guys were always a one. Devon White and Steve Finley were ones in center, and they even played left and right. They were ones, and Dewey Evans was like a 1, -4, or -5 in right field all the time. So I just threw like a bunch of Stratomatic ones out there.
See,
And I got backup.
That's right.
There were people who were already retweeting that. So
Exactly. Us baseball nerds have to stick together.
I know. Well, nerd. Now you can't even be a baseball nerd. If you're a baseball nerd, you're going against the old school. So I can't even describe myself as that because I don't believe in this. We got to throw every pitch 102 miles an hour and we got to use launch angle swings. Like, I want guys making contact and moving balls the other way and bunting and doing
There you
all this
go.
other stuff. So if I'm a nerd, then I can't say that. Now everybody just thinks I'm an analytics guy. I
Oh,
like
fair enough.
analytics too, but I like, put the ball in play. Put it in play. I don't want
Right.
I don't want
Let
to
the crowd see something. You know,
I don't want to
somebody
see
make a play.
I don't want to see the league hitting 232 is what I don't want to see. And then people are telling me the pitching's not good. I'm like, if the pitching's not good, how are they hitting 232? So this is our Kentucky Derby preview, as you can figure out. Um, I think we had one little piece of business that we wanted to do, and when we have guests on, we give them the option if they see fit to take over and do their own veteran of the day. And in this case, Barry has would like to honor his grandfather, no longer with us, but still that's one of the things we do here. Present or deceased, we're glad to honor our veterans. And here's Barry with the veteran of the day.
Yes, this is my grandfather, John Jetter. He passed away in 2001. And, he's an Army veteran, was in the Korean War, and we miss him. So, I'm definitely, the whole military is very close to near and dear to my heart. My son's in the Navy. My father-in-law was in the Navy also. So we definitely have strong ties to the military and we love it dearly. Thank everybody out there for their service. Tremendous.
And thanks to your son for his service. Please pass that
Thank you.
on directly from us and also from the dog. I'm sure he's once he's checking this out, he's not co-hosting with me for this one, but he would make a point to go out of his way to thank your son for his service and your family for what they've done and what they've put forth.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. As I keep one eye on the seventh race at Belmont Park, which I'm trying to use to fund my weekend foray into the Derby. What we're trying to do here is look, now Barry could take you down the rabbit hole, and if you want to hear what his full analysis of this stuff, you go follow him, like I said, on Twitter, or go hit the Going in Circles podcast, and you'll be able to get a full breakdown of everything that Barry thinks and his opinions. But what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to keep it pretty basic and make it a little bit for everyone. We understand most of the people who are watching are casual fans. They might not be very into horse racing. Some we might have. Others might not be so hot on even understanding how to place a bet. So we're going to try to cover the fun part and not fry Barry's brain too much. So the first part is Barry, if you could just give the people a little bit of a background of like, say, why you were the first person I called when I was like, hey, I think I want to do a Derby preview. You're my man. How about
Well,
that?
I mean, as far as my background in horse racing, I went to Saratoga when I was 8 years old. My family used to go up there for Travers Week. And one of the morning programs we went to breakfast, and they had a seminar on how to read the racing form. I begged my dad to partake. Went there, back then it was a old school newspaper, a huge form compared to what it is now. And they gave us a $5 voucher, taught us how to read the racing form, and I was hooked. From then on in, I was just wanted to pick winner that weekend. It was 1984, and it was the Travers, and it was Cardinascra who won, and I picked that winner. I don't think he was a favorite. I think he was about 6 or 7 to 1, if I recall. But yeah, I mean, it just definitely just brought me into the sport. And then a few years ago, I started playing tournaments, got good at that, was doing some things with the DRF, and everything's just progressed. This past winter, I did some work with Tampa Bay Downs as a racing analyst. Also was on TVG, have some more stuff with them coming up. So, things are looking up. So that's pretty much what I'm known for these days.
That's pretty good. What the people don't know is that you're qualified to talk about a whole bunch of sports,
Oh
from
yeah.
baseball to basketball and everything in between. So Be careful. You might be getting some more calls.
That's okay. I'm good with that.
It's not beyond the realm of possibility at all that you'll be getting some of those calls, and it might be soon. So don't make too
Probably
many
sooner
plans.
rather than later, right? Well, before
Yeah.
Saturday.
Especially since the White Sox ad came out.
Uh-oh.
You'll be getting a lot more. You'll be back on Diamond Diehards before you know it, talking about what happened with Tony La Russa because you wore a
Oh
White
man,
Sox
that
hat
guy's
once.
crazy.
Okay, so but the first order of business here for average Joe or Jane is how to enjoy the Derby. There's wagering versus just watching. Now, I was in the just watching phase for a long time. I was in the I covered it a few times, not on site, but back in the ESPN Sports Ticker days, there weren't a lot of people who could understand what was going on in a horse race enough to write about it, and I happened to be one of those, so I got to write a few of them up and a few big horse races up. So, but over the past, I'd say 8 years or so, I've moved a little more over to like the watching it from the wagering side. Um, when somebody's getting into it, right? Like we all seem to have a couple of friends that are not on like horse racing Twitter or like outside of our regular horse racing pit. There's always like a couple that are kind of floating in there, right? That are like that they kind of got your interest, and then there's other ones who this is like the one week where you could talk to them. Um, so wagering versus non-wagering. Let's talk about the non-wagering. What makes it interesting for that type of fan this week?
There's just so much. I mean, just visually, beyond anything else, visually, horse racing is such a colorful sport. I mean, with the jockey silks and all the colors and even the people in the stands, the fans just coming out dressing up and in their nice pastel colors. um, watching the horses, they're just beautiful animals in their own right. And just, watching them go, run full speed is just something that you never see anywhere else, especially in person. Um, it's such a great sport to spectate along with the wagering side, but just watching is so much fun. There's so much to learn, in its more primitive, basic form. It's just horses running around in a circle. But getting to know everything that goes on, before the race, after the race, during the race, there's just so much depth to in layers to horse racing as a sport. It's just endless. It's very much, so much fun just to learn about everything. And me being a veteran of this for 30 plus years, I'm still learning things. So it's just the sport that keeps giving.
Okay, you know what? I in our rundown, I put this as like one of the second to last bullets in here, but I feel like now's the time to ask it. Um, I'll take the shoes of the casual fan, right? And I'll say, I'm a casual fan, and the one name I know in horse racing is Bob Baffert, and he's not there. So is this race a sham, right?
Definitely not.
Quite
I
the
would say,
opposite,
yeah,
right?
exactly. It's probably
Okay.
less of a sham with him out than it would be with him in. But yeah, he's very popular. People always see him. He's won so many derbies. He's won triple crowns. I mean, the guy is just, in a sense, the face of a sport for a certain faction of people, and the media especially, because you'll see him on CNN and even maybe your local news. He was on our local news here in Daytona, the other day, just his name. So people recognize him, but it's definitely not a sham with him being out. It's always a great race. One person doesn't make or break the sport. But yeah, I mean, there's so much horse racing has to offer, including Bob and above and beyond Bob. So, it's just something that anyone can get immersed into. But as a casual fan, definitely not a sham.
Okay. And just for a little bit of background, he's suspended. I guess it's what 2 more years, right, from
Yes.
Kentucky for past infractions of, well, let's just call it doping the horses. And if you want more on that, just go Google Bob Baffert suspension, and we don't have to waste like that's a whole different rabbit hole, and there's a lot of stuff out there about it. You can go read about it. Yeah, without him there, so for the average fan, there are two horses that he's trained up until about a month ago, and they're among the two favorites, and a guy named Tim Yakteen has now taken over as the trainer for two of these horses, and we'll speak about that a little bit later. So he's not there, but he kind of is there, but he's kind of not, because if he has anything to do, like any contact with the trainer, the horseman, the ownership, anything, then the horses are just going to be disqualified. So it's a little messy, but it adds, maybe it adds a little bit to the specter of the Derby this year if you're just kind of paying attention. The fact that Bob Baffert is banned from the Derby, at least now for a couple of years. We're going to take a quick aside here, and I'm going to tell you about some things. It's one of the reasons that we're here doing this, and this podcast is growing. We have some good sponsorship. We talked about it before, and if you want to jump in with that, message us anywhere on social media at Diamond Diehards. The big four right now: Gatto Acupuncture, the Mascolo Group, FMS Graphics, and Big Ed's Car Wash. We're going to tell you a little bit about them real quick. Gatto Acupuncture and Wellness in Glen Rock, New Jersey. If you're feeling the stress, especially leading up to the Derby, you need to be relaxed. Go make your appointment, and it's GattoAcu.com, GATTOACU.com in Glen Rock, New Jersey. 551-212-3845, 551-212-3845. And if you're stressed out after you won, or maybe you just won big on your Derby day and you want to treat yourself to some wellness and acupuncture, so go to GattoAcu.com and check them out. And
sounds a lot better than having my daughter walk on my back.
That doesn't hurt either, though. She could, maybe she could. It's a little bit of a far distance from.
That's okay. We'll travel. I don't have any problems traveling to go somewhere good.
Yeah, well, from Daytona Beach to Glen Rock, New Jersey is a little far, but it's probably worth it. I'm gonna say that. And you know what? If you decide to relocate, you're gonna use the Mascolo Group realtors. They're serving all of your real estate needs in the Northern Valley and Passaic Valley areas of New Jersey, and in fact, all of Northern New Jersey. Go to GaryMascolo.com, GaryMascolo.com, or call 201-615-3665. That's if you are looking to get in, looking to get out, looking to buy, looking to rent, whatever it is. Gary and Michele will take care of you. GaryMascolo.com, or call 201-615-3665. If you have done that and you want to send out like change of address cards or something, or you need to get the word out about something and put papers or things in people's hands to get it out, FMSgraphics.com is where you want to go. All your printing and promotional needs can be served there. A family-run, family-owned business for the last 50 years. FMSgraphics.com, FMSgraphics.com for all your printing and promotional needs. And we finish it off in the sponsorship portion of our show. Big Ed's Car Wash in Fairlawn, New Jersey. If you are riding around in a ride that is not sparkling, then you need to go to the Bergen and Passaic County areas in New Jersey and go in and check out Big Ed's Car Wash. I was just there only the other day. My ride is now sparkling. And if you don't believe me, go on the YouTube page right now, because we took a little video of that visit with Ed. So go find Big Ed. Tell him Diamond Diehards sent you. Big Ed's Car Wash, 1716 River Road in Fairlawn, New Jersey, just across the river from Patterson. And if you're in the Bergen and Passaic County areas, you got to go visit Ed, and he's done a lot to help us out here, and I think we're going to be doing even more stuff with Ed. So
let me get this straight. I can get my back fixed, buy a house, send out invitations to my housewarming party, and get my car washed.
Well, you're not going to have people coming at your party and your ride's going to be dirty
right?
in the
No dirty
driveway.
rides in front of my new house, right?
And then you could send them to Big Ed's. They'd be like,
That's
hey,
right. Hey,
yeah,
you can't park that here. You got to go to Big Ed's first.
right. And it's all stress free thanks to Gatto Acupuncture, right?
There you
Like I mean,
go.
it's yeah, you just
Got it all solved.
you got all the needles in the right place. Boy, Barry's good for business. You gotta love it. Okay, now why don't we dive in here and I what I like to do with my horse playing knowledge, which is not great, but I know my way around a little bit, right? So, and by the way, I got beat in the seventh at Belmont, so
Dang
I'm
it.
done. Yeah, so it's gonna be we're gonna have to fund this weekend and then hope for the best. What I like to do with my a little bit of horse racing acumen when I run into my friends who are not horse players but they're kind of interested is I like to take a little bit of that and the basics and explain like when they're like, "Oh, who do you like? Who do I bet?" And as you know, like you don't like to just give your pick, right? Like it's not that easy. Like it seems that easy, but there's 20 horses in the race. It's hard to just pick when you're not sitting there making like one win bet. We're probably making 57 bets on the race. And then you're trying to take that and explain it in layman's terms. So Barry, the way that I figure that we could do this is why don't we start by explaining what a toss is and then saying who your tosses are.
Okay. Yeah. Well, more or less, a toss is a horse that you're not going to use or you don't want to bet or you don't think is going to win. Now, in a 20 horse race, there's effectively 19 tosses, so to speak, but some merit a better chance than others. Obviously, it's not anything that's solidified. So the horses that you toss out could actually win if you're wrong. But you know, educated guessing and so on, you kind of try to whittle that list of 20 down to maybe 3, 4, or 5.
And
But it's again, it's not an exact science. You have some information at your disposal, so you can kind of figure that out. But nobody really knows for sure.
right. So there's a few horses when you're sitting there at 20, right? Every one that you can kind of throw out. And listen, if look, it's gambling, right? So the first rule of gambling is you're gonna lose, right?
Yeah,
That's the first rule.
eventually, yeah.
And the 1A rule is play with a budget, right? Because then
That's
you're gonna lose, and as long as you have it budgeted, it's no different from spending money at the movies or going to a ball game, right? It's just budgeted.
absolutely,
And
yeah.
if you
It's just such a game that can consume you, but it's entertainment at the end of the day. Like you said, is no different than allowing a budget to go to the movies. I mean, although the movies might be more expensive than horse playing at this point, but it's the same sort of deal.
Okay. So if I can, throw out a few, for instance, like the two Happy Jack, like that's a very easy toss for me. But
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to say that because I want everybody who's named Jack, who's a casual player, or everybody who has like a thing for the name Jack to put money on that horse.
Oh,
'Cause
they definitely will. They won't listen to anything we say, and people will just play names, numbers, colors if they like, the silks, what they look like. But yeah, I'm with you. Happy Jack is definitely a toss. I think either one of us could run faster than that horse.
Yeah, well maybe you. I don't know about me at this point. At least for maybe like two steps out of the gate, maybe out of the gate. Um, Summer is tomorrow is funny because we're gonna sit here and you and I both know that horse has like the rest of the field could get struck by lightning and that horse might still not win, right? But the funny thing is we're talking about this for Summer is tomorrow, and at the first call that's probably who's going to be in the lead. And everybody's going to be like, what? Who's this horse? And whoever has it at 126 to 1 is going to be excited for about 37 seconds, right? But that horse is not going to win, but that horse could play a big part in this race, along with, I'd say, the 17 Classic Causeway. um, because those horses are what we call speed horses, right? They want to go to the front, but they don't have say the pedigree or the base or whatever you want to call it, that they're not going to be able to get the distance over the full field here. But are we so far in accord on tossing out those two front runners?
Absolutely. I am with you 1000%. Neither one of those horses have a shot, but they'll definitely give you a thrill because they'll most likely, especially Summers tomorrow, is probably going to be in first place at some point for the race in the race, probably for about 20, 30 seconds.
And it'll be like around a turn, right? And it'll be like,
Yep.
oh my god, like and people not realizing that there's like another turn to go.
Yeah. Yeah, the race is 2 minutes long, so if that horse is out in front for 30 seconds, you know what it is.
Yeah. But it's, and people are probably sitting there going, well, if that horse could get the lead, why can't it hold the lead? And it just has a lot to do with strategy and pedigree and post position and some of those other things, right? Um, there's a few other tosses in there. I guess that we don't have to go over every single one. I just wanted to give people an idea of a few of them. So we tossed out one of the name horses and we tossed out two of the what we figured to be the early front runners. And okay, just by doing that, we narrowed a 20 horse field down to 17.
There you
But
go.
you and I probably have it narrowed down much more than that. Not that important. The next thing I want to talk about is it was a good lead in right here. I thought this one out. Is pace. So explain a little bit about pace and why do we care about
Okay.
pace?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, you'll hear if you hear anybody or quote unquote experts talk about horse racing, they'll tell you pace makes the race. And the way a race unfolds ends up being how or what pace is. So when you have a lot of horses with a lot of speed that don't want to be behind horses, you'll get a quick pace, which sets it up for horses coming from behind. And then sometimes you'll have horses that where nobody wants to go to the lead, the pace is slow, which favors horses that run on the lead. So that's really kind of the two scenarios that you usually face during a racing day. And trying to figure that out is part of the puzzle. How is the race going to be fast or are they going to go slow? And that's a lot of the gambling aspect hinges on that one aspect.
Okay. So to fast forward, so people don't have to sit there and try to figure it out. This race, especially for a derby, a recent derby. I should say a recent derby because that usually was not the case. For a recent derby, this race is basically loaded with speed horses.
Yes.
Whereas the past few have there's been like none or one, and the horses that have been able to get the lead have just been able to cruise like unchallenged. Whether they got a little help or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, that's one thing that's very unique about the Kentucky Derby itself is, you know, the way horses end up running in the race, their body of work or their past performances, it's always unique, from year to year. So it's very tough to compare years. I mean, you can compare the greatness of the horses that actually ran in the race, but the race itself is a unique entity every single year. So that makes it that much tougher. And that's why, if you can handicap well and make the right bets, you can come out ahead.
okay. So the next question for somebody would be, okay, we just told you that there's a bunch of speed horses in this race. So you'd think, oh, speed horses means they're the fastest horses. So if they're up front, then all right, let me find like which of the fastest horses that I like the most. In fact, it's probably the flip side, and we'll use a baseball term, which is who's the player that you don't see, the pitcher that you don't see until the end of the game, when you want to finish out the win. It's the closer, right?
That is
And when
correct.
there is a lot of speed in a race, the speed horses have difficulty very often maintaining that speed for the length of the race or the full length of the race. And as they get closer to the finish line, the closers come from the back where they've saved their energy or their stride, or maybe they're just more comfortable running late, and they start picking off those speed horses one by one, two by two, whatever, depending. And it doesn't always work out that way because in the Kentucky Derby, there's 20 horses. So if you're coming from the back, or you're coming even from the middle, there's potentially a lot of traffic that you get through. So I do see this race from my own side. I am not. I am looking at all the closers, and I don't know if I'm gonna have any of the speed horses. Maybe one just for safe betting a little bit. I might keep one of them up there, and we'll get to some specific names here. But I'm looking all the way at the back. I'm looking at all these closers and deep closers for this race because of
Yeah,
all that speed to start with.
yeah, it's definitely a good philosophy. I mean, one thing that people who are new to horse racing will learn really quickly is it's hard to be indecisive and be a decent horse player. You have to make a decision and live with it, whether you lose or win. So this is no different, in a 20 horse race, once a year, you got to take a stand. If you think that, or, by just looking at what you look at, um, you figure that the horses that are coming from behind are the ones that are going to win, go with it. If you think the horses that are the speed are going to kind of last, go with that. But you got to make a decision. Being halfway doesn't really work out that well.
I mean, unless you have an unlimited bankroll.
Yeah, well,
It's a little different story. Oh, what'd you do? I have like 14 horses bet. It's still six that could beat you, right?
people do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. Not me. Not me.
Nope.
I'm not one
I'm
of them.
not that kind of guy either.
I'm not that guy. So what I do a lot of times in races where there's a lot of speed is I'll keep the best speed horse, and I'll use them like in the mix. I'll take the closer that I like, and I'll use the best speed horse there, and I'll keep them like second or third or something like that. Because sometimes they could just hold on, or they get nipped at the wire or something like that. I'm not quite sure still what I'm gonna do here, but I know who I'm picking. Um, the next question is, as we build on this knowledge before we dive deep into like names, um, is okay. We got the speed thing, we got the closer thing. Jockeys and trainers, how much do they matter? They're names that you know. You don't know horse names as much because you're paying attention once a year, and it's only 3 year olds are allowed in the race. So it's always a new crop. There's nobody that's ever returning. So jockeys and trainers, you might know. Um, how much does that play in for you versus average fan?
It's a factor. I think maybe trainers are more of a factor than the jockeys personally. But it's definitely a factor. I mean, this is like I was just saying, this is a unique race. It's very tough to win. You have jockeys that have won it before. You have trainers that have won it before. They have an edge because, they've seen it all before. They know what it takes to win, and some of them have actually guided their horse to win. So, they have to get a little bit of credit for that. Although it's not the end all be all, because in the end, the horses are the ones that kind of run the fastest, and sometimes they win despite whatever the trainer and or the jockey does, which is kind of a phenomenon in its own right. But yeah, they're definitely a factor. Some, like we were talking about before, Bob Baffert, he's won a whole bunch of these races. Mike Smith is a jockey that's won a whole bunch of these races. He's riding this year too. So you might want to gravitate towards those guys because they tend to get better horses to ride, because they have been there before and they have won. But it's not a major factor. Like, it's in kind of like a 1 through 10 scenario. I would say, one being the top of the list, I'd say it's probably a 7.
Okay. I do agree with you. I do put more stock in the trainers, a little less in the jockeys, but there are some jockeys that I look at that break ties for me.
Mm.
And that leads me to uh, here where we can kind of get down to the part where people are now is the time for your ears to perk up if you're listening. And by the way, I don't think we talked before the show about my shirt. My shirt has a DH on it and a little symbol. So if you're only listening and you're not watching and you eventually get back to watch, it's not designated hitter. I'm wearing my dead heat shirt, which is what occurs in horse racing when two horses tie for the same position. Not just first, by the way. It could be a dead heat for any position. And if there's a dead heat for the win in the Kentucky Derby, then I'm going to look like a genius for wearing this shirt on the Kentucky Derby show, right? I mean, but I hope there's not, unless I have both. Um, then I hope there will be. So I'm looking at this great combination, Sniper. Um, Anybody who knows me in terms of horse racing knows that I am like the president, and I have been for the longest time, of the Flavian Pratt fan club. Now he's a jockey. He's a French-born jockey. He rode in California for many years and dominated at Santa Anita and Del Mar. Was always like the winner or among the winners of the jockey titles over there. He's got a Kentucky Derby win, a contested one. He rode Country House a few years ago, who won by disqualification, and thereby with that win got me even for the day. Based on a small bet that I had to make because Flavian and Pratt was riding. Um, he's got the combination that I like here. So Zandon is the number 10 horse. He is going to go off as the actual favorite or close to it. But there's a good chance that this horse could be running 20th for most of the race and try to get through all that traffic in the end, between the last turn and the final stretch and have to pick off 19 horses. But that, combination of the speed in the race, the deep closer who's the most proven, and my obsession with Pratt, plus there's a trainer named Chad Brown who is he's in the conversation of the best for the horse people. And he's not as well known to the average fan as Bob Baffert, but Baffert's got nothing on Chad Brown. So you have that full confluence. The only thing I don't like is I hate picking favorites, but there's no way I can't pick Zandon as my favorite here, Barry.
I don't blame you. That horse looks excellent. It's just a matter like what we were talking about before, taking a stance on what you think is going to happen in the race, and Zandon is a closer. Now, on the other side, the horse that I like is also one of the horses that will probably be one of the favorites, but he has the total, or not the total opposite, but kind of opposite, is Epicenter, the 3 horse. He likes to run close or on the lead. He has great connections. Steve Asmussen, who is the winningest trainer of all time, is his trainer, and he has who I believe is one of the best jockeys in the country, in Joel Rosario. He's never steered me wrong, and neither has Pratt, so I like them both.
Okay. And that does fit the bill where I like to keep one from the front. Now, Epicenter's probably not going to be at the very front, but he could be very well leading the pack on the final turn.
That's
By
where I
that
want
time,
him to
right?
be. Yeah.
Yeah. Like inside, he's got the 3 position, but he's going to have a lot of traffic there, possibly early. So if he gets through that, he's probably going to be in decent shape. Um, okay, so we both have our 2 that we like, but there's other horses that really interest me, and the number 1, Mo Donegal. My Irish crew is going to be all over this one. Okay. Oh, she is. You got to bet Mo Donegal. And while we're drinking all our beers, we're gonna cheer on Mo. We're gonna cheer on Big
That's a
Mo.
great accent.
It's contrived. Well, I have a lot of really great Irish friends, so I should be
There you
good.
go.
I don't want to embarrass myself. Um, this horse is another closer is going to also is going to be battling Zandon for the back of the pack for a while. Now the interesting thing is, I think this horse could win, Sniper. But if it was in previous years, I would have said no, and the reason is this is now we're getting a little inside baseball here, but at Churchill Downs now, they have a single starting gate for the Derby, which means they don't have what you've been used to seeing in previous years, which is like the first. It used to be the first. Where was the break? 13 or
Uh,
14?
yeah, I want to say 14 to 15.
Yeah, so it was like there would be a break. They had one big starting gate and then an adjunct one for the last like 4 or 5 or 6 outside horses, whatever it is. So there'd be an extra gap in there. But really what the extra gap did, it didn't hurt the outside horses. It hurt the inside horses, but it killed the horse that had the one spot because the horse with the one spot would be coming out of the chute and like within like 100 yards, the thing, if it didn't cut to the middle to its right, like would be running into the rail. So um, they fixed that. That's not an issue anymore. So I don't think that the one is such a bugaboo of a coming out of the chute like it was. Plus, that horse is going to want to go to the back and should be able to get right to the back without any issue and really, really should be running late. The other thing is, and again, I don't put as much into the jockeys, but when I see Irad Ortiz, like he's him
Top
and
jock.
Pratt, like he's they're at the top of the top. These guys, and when it's a tie, these guys can make a difference. Plus, you have Todd Pletcher. He's another one in that conversation with Chad Brown. You've maybe have heard of him if you're in and around New York, and you watch any racing, you've heard his name. But in other parts of the country, if you're a once or twice or three times a year fan, you might have heard it. It might ring a bell. You might not be sure, but he's in that conversation. So you got all those combos again for me. So I'm definitely using the one Mo Donegal.
Okay. Well, that, the horse that I like kind of secondary to Epicenter is number 13, Simplification. Um, I think this horse is, he's on the right track. He's getting actually Irad's brother to who's riding him. But I just like this horse's versatility where he could actually be close to the lead or far back. It doesn't matter. And I think that's a key advantage in a race like this where, if things, if plan A doesn't work, you can go to plan B.
In the Derby, you need Plan B, Plan C,
C.
and Plan D sometimes to win. And we're not even talking about if the track gets sloppy, right? Which there's a really good chance that it could be, because we're
Yes.
expecting rain for 3 days in Louisville, and I don't think that would actually change my pick either way. I would probably upgrade Epicenter a little bit more if it's going to be rainy because in that case, I feel like I'd rather cover myself more with a horse that's going to be up front because I don't know how some of these 3-year-olds are going to deal with all that mud and everything kicking up. 19 horses worth of mud is a little tough
It's a lot.
for anybody. Um, some of the interesting names that are in there. Uh, Taiba, the 12. Now you talked about Mike Smith. He's probably the best known jockey, and he'll be riding this horse. A lot of people will tell you that this is, from an athlete standpoint, this is the best horse out there. But horsemen will tell you this horse, like from a trainer standpoint, should not be running in this Derby and should have been, rested and just isn't ready, after 2 career starts to run at this level. Athleticism, all that stuff, is the horse looks like it'll if you were going to ask horseman which is the best horse that's going to come out of this race and have the best career, I think that horse would probably be the one that most people say is going to be the one. But a lot of people think this horse should not even be running in this race because of where this horse is at in its career. Where do you stand on Taiba?
It's a lot to ask, in the horse's third start ever to run a mile and a quarter against 20 other horses. Conventional wisdom would tell you that the horse probably doesn't have a shot, but um, the horse has proven to be very, very fast, and that's not to be discounted. They paid a huge amount of money for him. I think 1.7 million for the horse, and this is what he was expected to do. Um, so yeah, he may be tough. I mean, it's just so hard to tell because these horses are 3-year-olds, and that would be like teenagers at this point. Kind of freshmen into junior year, just trying to figure out their legs and figure out what's going on. So it's definitely a gamble, but the horse definitely has talent. So I couldn't knock anybody for liking him.
There's a bunch of Alabama football fans right now who are saying, "Yeah, we win national championships like every year with guys that are freshmen to juniors. Like, what's the big deal? Like, just bet the horse, you know." Um, I Barry, I have a feeling that Mike Smith is going to take this horse and he's just going to floor it with this horse, and he's just going to try to get him out front of everybody and just see what happens. Um,
Not a
that
bad
would be
strategy.
that would be a Mike Smith move. But in a race where there's so much speed, that's a tough. I don't know. I can't get behind that horse, but there is something that tells me like I'm just gonna look at it afterward and be like, why did I listen to all the other experts? So if you, as you could tell, our analytics and stuff have shown, and we talk about this more and more each show, that most of our listeners and viewers and supporters are from the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. And what does that mean in terms of horse racing? No, it's not going to be another advertisement. There is a horse, number 6, that is also one of the favorites named Messier. And speaking of the last horse, Taiba beat Messier in one of the preps, right? But it was on a different day, if they were pushing Messier, maybe Messier wins that race. So Messier to me is a little bit fresher heading into this race. Another horse that wants to be up front could be right next to your epicenter, right? If those things go right, if Johnny Velasquez and Joel Rosario want to be where they want to be, they're going to be right next to each other, right? Coming around that final turn. What do you think of Messier?
Actually, this is going back to what the people have learned earlier. I have Messier as on the toss list.
Oh boy.
I do not like Messier at all. For the reasons being, like I was saying, this is like a puzzle. So going back through the analytics and everything in the racing form, I determined that the Robert B. Lewis stakes that Messier won the last time the horse ran or won, which was in February 6, 2022, was an exceptionally easy race. And I just don't think it was tough enough for the likes of what he's going to be facing on Saturday. So
And
I am tossing Messier out. I don't think Messier is going to be around.
now, did you toss Taiba?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Taiba's in there
Okay.
for sure.
So these are the two horses that were previously trained by Baffert until about a month ago, and Tim Yakteen has taken over since then. So those are the two we talked about them there together. So one's a toss and one's a use. I I think I still got to do a little more research. I think I'm more likely to use Messier if it's going to be an off track. So if it's bad weather, I'm more likely to keep Messier in there. But I think I'm leaning a little bit more toward the Barry Sniper Spears handicapping angle right there.
It's out of here.
I like this white Abario, number 15. Another horse that's uh, there's some people that love this horse, and some people like there's people. I feel like people either think this horse is going to win or finish last. Like there's
Yeah.
almost no in between on this horse. Like this is a horse that you either bet it to win or just don't even use it in your exotics.
Yeah, he's a tough read. I mean, his races are kind of middle of the road. Um, Although he's won quite a few of them, he stacks up well with everybody else. I don't see why he doesn't have a shot to win. And like you said, a lot of opinions are going around that this horse either wins or finishes, way in the back. And he's really one of the more polarizing for that reason. Uh, I mean, it's hard to knock him, and he's probably going to be kind of one of the ones that people kind of fall asleep on.
Okay. I still haven't decided, but he's been in my mix. That I could elevate him to the top by Saturday or just toss him. I don't know. What other names in here are you interested in? I'll give you one, and then maybe you can give me one. Smile Happy is a name where if you are a person that has tuned into horse racing anytime within the last like 2 years for any reason, every race, every ad was brought to you by Run Happy, the sire, this horse that they have just pushed and pushed and pushed. So Smile Happy is sired by Run Happy, who was a sprinter. Now this race is a mile and a quarter. So if you count furlongs, 8 furlongs is a mile. This one's 10. Um, I was ready to toss this horse, Barry, but you know what? The Run Happies have actually done pretty good
Yeah.
routing, like, and it's probably because of the mix of mares and stuff like that. But the other factor that you have here is it's another jockey factor where you have Corey Lannery at Churchill Downs, and if he's got to get through traffic, like he's one of those guys with brass balls that will ride an inch from the rail and blast through. If he's got enough horse, he'll try to do it. So I got this one dangling in the back of my head a little bit. Am I
Uh,
nuts?
no, you're not nuts, because if you look at, kind of look at the body of work for Smile Happy, he doesn't look much different than Zandon, other than a couple of second place finishes. They look very, very similar on paper. And the horse actually has a win at Churchill Downs, which, is always a good thing. A win at the track they're actually going to be running at tomorrow. So, I mean, on Saturday. So it's definitely somebody you would want to use. The horse that I'm going to throw in there is Crown Pride, the Japanese horse.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he has a non-traditional training regimen that I'm very intrigued by. He basically works out every day, and kind of runs really hard all the time, which to me makes a lot of sense because he's going to be running a mile and a quarter. It's almost like a human, training to run a marathon. You got to run far and quite a bit in order to build up that stamina. And I think that Crown Pride has been doing that, and he's doesn't look all that bad. He really doesn't. And hopefully people kind of forget about him and he comes in at a big price.
Well, the interesting thing is he's the Japanese qualifier, and like the horse players, I mean, it's basically been kind of the running joke inside was the easiest toss on Derby Day is just toss the Japanese horse. You just you know they have no chance. But over the last like year and change, the Japanese racing industry has been clocking in some huge wins around the globe. And this is better than any of the Japanese Derby horses we've seen. I feel like
Yeah.
you're right. Like if that horse, I'll be surprised if Crown Pride wins, but I won't be floored the way I would have been like even last year or years before.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that.
Okay. I think we covered about enough as much as anybody could take here. You're you are busy this week, and I really appreciate that you took as much time as you did for for our viewers and our listeners to get a little educated on the Derby. And I wish you continued success. You're just you're talented. You're easy to listen to. You have a good way, and I've just from listening to you for a long time. You have a really good way of taking difficult concepts and breaking them down into easily digestible bites. And you did it here, and I really appreciate that, Barry.
Oh, thank you so much. Those are super kind words. I'm still trying to find my way, 30 years later in this. But those are great words. I appreciate it, and I definitely love to come on and do things like this with you.
Yeah, I put you up there, with high regard. Every now and then, I'm just sitting around. I'm like, I need something to do, and I'll see one of your tweets, and I'll be like, okay, it looks like I'm playing the fourth at Tampa Bay, and boom, Barry just won me $30. Like, hey, thanks, man.
Hey, that's a nice little dinner, fast food anyway.
I know. Well, now it's like, that's the Uber Eats toll, just
There you go. Yeah,
for
or
the
or maybe a sliver of gas at
asleep.
this point.
It was like $70 to fill up my van the other
Oh
day. I couldn't
man,
believe it. I'm like, oh boy.
rough.
Anyway, imagine how much it costs to transport horses now.
Oy.
Those freebies into the Breeders' Cup are
Yeah, man, that's like the hottest ticket ever.
covering the travel is going to be more than the purse that you win if you win a Breeders' Cup race. Jeez, that's going to be like crazy. You know what I want to hit you up for real quick? This is
Sure.
selfish. So, my favorite bet in all of horse racing is okay, I gotta explain it. So basically, when you have the big Triple Crown races, and even to some degree like the Breeders' Cup, which is 2 days of like craziness, um, you have very often these wagers that go from Friday to Saturday, and for the Derby, they have the Kentucky Oaks on Friday, which is the Philly race. It's the Philly version. Phillies are eligible for the Derby, but most of the time they're held back because they find a Grade One race that they can win in the Oaks the day before. So I love betting the Oaks Derby double or whatever, like the triple is, like because I could see my position from Friday, and I'm like, okay, I'm live to this, and this, and then it affects my betting. So I want to get your Kentucky Oaks pick for Friday.
It will be number 10, Kathleen O. And if you use my pick in the Oaks with Joe's pick in the Derby, it's the 10-10 double.
Oh, that's very
Makes it easy
nice.
for everybody.
Kathleen O. I gotta look. I gotta look harder again. Wait, there was somebody in there that I kind of liked at the beginning. Nostalgic,
Okay.
maybe.
Yes.
Um,
New
and
York.
that would be a bomb. Well, I think, but again, it's another. It looks like another speed race, right? The Oaks looks like there's a bunch of speed. There's not as much speed, but the speed that's in there is good speed, right? And
Absolutely. And
and
they're going
nostalgic.
shorter. The race is a little bit shorter too.
Yeah, it's a mile and an eighth. So I kind of like nostalgic in there too, but I mean now it's not even a question. I'm definitely using nostalgic and Kathleen. No, I'm not gonna sleep on your pick
10-10 all day.
all day. All right, tell everybody again how they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm there all day, every day at Urban Handicapper, URBN Handicapper. You can find me on the Going in Circles podcast, Big Monday. We're actually doing a preview show. So if you want to get some more in-depth analysis from myself and my partner Chuck Simon, we're doing a podcast that should be out on Friday morning. That'll go over, most of the contenders in the Derby and then also some of the undercard races. But those two places where you can find me, we are Going in Circles podcast is every Monday, Big Monday, but we're doing a special episode this week. But yeah, you can message me, tweet at me. I'm very responsive. I'm always on there, so nothing gets by me.
And even do a little NBA.
Yeah, love
You
it.
got a little. We got a little background there.
Yeah,
That's a different show. We'll
yep,
do a different show on
absolutely. We
that.
can come back next time and we'll do that one.
All right,
We'll
cool.
talk about the basketball.
Okay, that's the sniper Barry Spears. And once again, if you're just checking out Diamond Diehards because of this special event, we appreciate that. We do mostly usually it's a podcast about baseball and about life, but we're breaking out and doing some new things because frankly things are going well, and we're going to keep doing a little bit more of that. So. Follow us or subscribe to us everywhere you find your podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, which is where most of you are checking us out right now, or Spotify or Amazon. If you like to watch, we're on YouTube. Get that link and go find us on YouTube. Spread it around. The YouTube could use a little help at this point. It's not that's not our main means of distribution, but the Facebook group is, and you should follow us there. Join our Facebook group. It's free. I mean, you can't beat that. And we want you to interact with us everywhere at Diamond Diehards on social media, especially Twitter. And the dog is not with us today, but you can follow him at Jeff Healy 8. That's the number 8 on Twitter. He's a good follower, as a good follow on there as well. So that is going to do it for our Kentucky Derby special. For the sniper, Barry Spears, this is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.